Hey everyone, welcome to DKTV, where we're talking PGA. In fact, it's the big one in America. It's the PGA Championship. Joining me, DK writer Jamie Hinks and Edo Delamonte, who's always here for golf. We're heading to Baltrazal. Baltrazal. It sounds like evil. It does, but it's in New Jersey, Springfield, New Jersey. The first time that Tiger Woods is going to miss all 4 major championships. Big, exciting times. Edo, what are you thinking about this course? How do we look? It's a big field. It's amazing. It's the big guns. It's all of it.
Yeah, and we're talking, 7,400 yards, par 70. A lot of skills will be necessary, considering we've just done a couple of courses where accuracy is very important. This seems to go more for the bombers and for people who can play approaches very well and who can play around the greens. There's that 4th hole, which is an absolute stinker, because it looks a lot like the hole 12 at the Masters, where Jordan Spieth choked it away. So, you know, there's water, there are the bunkers around it. Then there are two very gettables, two very gettable par 5s towards the end and the back 9. So a lot of skills will be required. Par 4 scoring is very important, especially over the 400 range. But yeah, a lot of skills necessary here. And I think I've based my picks anyway on that kind of profile. All
right, and Jamie, it's the big ones. It's all the big guns, right? It's all the big names in it. And I think we've looked so far in the field, there's no one really stepped up. Has anyone really stepped out as those big names? We're looking at those big names in contention. What do you sort of see here with all these big guys?
I went back to 2005, which is when it last was here, the PGA Championship.
It's Phil?
Which is when Phil Mickelson won. And he was 3rd on the money list, so he was up there, like behind Tiger, and I can't remember who else was up there with him. But yeah, that was his 2nd major. Back then he was 40. I mean, I was trying to read into the stats a little bit from back then, because it's kind of hard.
He was right-handed back then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's how long ago it was.
Because it's kind of hard to look at the PGA in terms of historical stats, because it changes every single year. Like the Open, but I mean the Open is always on a links course, so you can kind of read a little bit more into that. With this, I was kind of looking like, oh, back then he was 15th for putting average, and trying to read something into that. But I mean, this was 11 years ago, so the course is going to have changed. But I mean, things that are in common with every single US PGA Championship there is. 5 times in the last 20 years there's been an Open PGA double, so maybe that's something you could look at for Stenson. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell. Everyone bigs in there, and it's a US course, so I mean...
It's a US course, but I mean, even if you look at it, you've had an Australian, a Northern Irish, an American, a Northern Irish, a German, and a South Korean in the past few years that have been winning it. There's been some European champions, and I think everyone remembers that Jason Day one last year. It was very sweet. His kid got involved. It was that, but it was a very classic one.
I mean, it's still big play. I mean, like McIlroy's won it twice in the last 5 years, so it's still very high-profile players that are winning this tournament. So I'd expect it to be not a nobody.
No, it should be a big name. We'll see what happens. Now, what happens with DraftKings? 6 players, 50,000. Oh my gosh, there's so much money we're giving away. Millions giving away for the US Open, or sorry, for the PGA Championship. So who is on your list? 6 players, 50 grand. Who are you going to put in for your PGA Championship lineup? I'm going to ask these guys who's in your lineup. I'm going to start, with Edo. Edo, first player, who do you got?
JB Holmes, priced at a very reasonable 7,700. He's been doing unspeakable things to the ball. In fact, he leads. That's it.
Tell us in that sexy French voice of yours.
Oh, JB Holmes. We had that question actually. What does JB stand for? And I was saying it could be John the Baptist. It is not. It is much more boring than that. It's something.
Jim Bob.
Normal.
It's so boring I can't even remember what it was.
Yeah, it would not surprise Jim Bob. Oh my. He is from South Carolina, isn't he? So it's very possible. But yes, he leads the tour in driving distance, so you can imagine him on hole 4 just getting it straight next to the hole. Whereas proximity stats are phenomenal. His approaching is, and he's also 7th in birdie average. He's come back into form. He had a moment this season when he wasn't looking so good. Then he tied for 27th at Bridgestone, and then obviously was very good at the Open. He came 3rd, tied for 4th for the Masters. So I think we're starting to see a theme here. This is by far his best season, in fact, at the majors. You look at all of that kind of stuff. I'm happy to see as well that his putting doesn't ever seem to have, well, he can have off days, but he won't have catastrophic days. If you look at shots gained putting, for example, a lot of these guys will have a day where it's horrible and they're minus 1.5. He will never go over minus 0.8, and he will have some good days as well. So there shouldn't be any negative surprises here, I'm hoping.
All right. Throwing a little JB down. Jamie, who was your first one down?
Right, I'm going quite safe here. Henrik Stenson, 10,500. Now he's got the monkey off his back of not winning a major. He's going to hopefully win another one, 2 in a row. And as I said earlier, like the Open PGA double is one that people have done reasonably often. He's second in greens and regulation on the PGA Tour. I think he's also third on the European Tour for that as well. He's going to want to be ramping it up towards the Ryder Cup, even if he wasn't ramping it up already. Not playing in the Canadian Open, so he's going to be rested. And last 3 tournaments he's played have been first, tied 13th first. And he's not the most expensive golfer on the player pool, so I think he has to be picked.
He's not. He is good, and we'll talk about him. We'll talk about him a little later as well. I'm going to go with my first pick. The old expression goes, always the bridesmaid, always the lefty. That's right, Phil Mickelson. Come on, Phil. He's won it before. But Phil has been playing great golf, 10,200. He's got that kind of face, that long face. Like, why the long face? He looks like someone left him in a hot car. He's got that sort of droopy kind of face. But he's been playing amazing golf. That's all that matters. He's been consistent. He's been a great player. I thought he did really well at the British Open for 10,200. Mickelson is one of those guys you just got to go with. You just got to go. You got to trust Phil. And that's my first on my list. That's it. Second player, Edo, who do you got?
Lefty at 10.2
Oh,
grand.
yeah. I just threw down all your reasons.
Pretty much, yeah. And he was inconsistent earlier this season, remembering the choke at the Masters, which was in fact mostly a Sunday afternoon thing. He'd been pretty reasonable until then, but, he still didn't make the cut. Friday, obviously. Now, obviously, he's done better of late. He was tied for 27 at Bridgestone, second at Troon, and he ran Stenson very close. And in fact, we were talking about getting the monkey off your back, and he actually was saying, well, I've won this kind of stuff before. I've got 5 majors, so there's a little bit less pressure on me. He said that on Friday. By Sunday, of course. Oh, no. And, on Thursday, he hit that 62, or nearly hit that 62, rather, which was spectacular. And the thing is, he is more suited for a course like this than Troon because he's, good around the tee, not necessarily super accurate, but he can recover, good approach play, and he's second in scoring average. A little bit of a limited sample, but I'm a big fan of Mickelson's. So yeah, let's do it.
Big fan, good choice, and he is, I would say, more consistent and hungry, kind of like the third world. Jamie, second pick.
This is bargain basement time again.
Oh my gosh, I love bargain basement. I love bargains.
I've decided to go, back to the Dollarama, back to the dollar store. Billy Hurley the third.
Oh my gosh.
5,700.
Ooh. That price you couldn't get Billy Hurley the fourth.
Right. Well, I was reading up on the PGA. There's not a huge amount online right now about the PGA Championship. So I was reading up on it, and it said if you can get someone who's won a PGA event this year, then it's a good thing.
Yeah.
He won his first ever PGA event this year. Very good at putting. Unfortunately, missed out on the Open due to his sister's wedding. And I think now he's going to be like, well, this is the last major of the year. This is my big chance to actually make an impact. And maybe, who knows, if he plays really well, maybe a Ryder Cup spot as a wild card. It's not outside the realms of possibility.
Missing the sister's wedding, I would have thought playing in the Open, maybe a bigger
Maybe,
deal.
yeah.
You're always going to hold over your sister, especially if she like.
You know what they're like with the weather over in Scotland, though. That would have played a factor. Like, I don't want to go and play in the rain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to clutch the straws.
Yeah, that's
Billy.
Poor Billy.
Boy.
Poor Billy. Well,
And he's a local as well. No local, but he won in Annapolis, and he's from near there. And this is in
New Jersey.
Jersey. So
Yep.
Well, my second pick, I went for someone who's not local at all. I went for someone from England, Luke Donald. That's right, he's 7,100. It's actually quite value for him. Token Brit. He's a last-minute start at the British Open, tied for 43rd. It's not bad when he only got the call a couple days ahead of time. 55.8 fantasy points per game. He's had 1 top 10 tournament. He's one of those guys that I think it's like the gears haven't been fully shifting, and I think it's almost ready to begin. I think Luke Donald actually has the skills to play. He used to be a former #1. Maybe he's ready for this tournament. Luke Donald, are you ready to get in this tournament? I hope so, because I put you on my list. Number 3, Edo, who do you got?
all the way from Belgium, Thomas Pieters at 7,000.
Wow.
Was a bit of a surprise.
Sounds like a Belgian footballer.
A certain Dutch footballer Aston Villa fans don't want to be reminded of. Oh dear. No, he's 24 years old and tied for 30 at the Open. And this kid can really go places. He ain't no joke, so to speak. He's really sort of climbed up the ranks, has looked reasonable, was actually good at the match play as well. There are a lot of good things to say about this kid. He seems to have been toughened up. I was reading an interview, he said that in 2014 he lost the Spanish Open to Miguel Angel Jimenez in a playoff, and that toughened him up. And we've seen results since then proving that he can actually compete with the big guys. And he was saying, now I can actually, kind of reaching for the stars here. And he's actually doing pretty reasonably. He was second in Abu Dhabi, did well at the BMW, did well enough actually quite a few months ago to qualify for the British Open, but still came 29 for the Scottish Open the week before. So I'm a fan at 7,000. I think that's pretty reasonable.
7,000 fan of the Belgian stud. All right, Jamie, third pick.
I've got everyone's favourite golfer that can hit a burger off a golf tee.
Oh, yeah.
Beef!
Yeah.
6,500. Andrew Johnston, of course.
Yeah.
Everyone's favourite new English golfer. It's made the cut at the first two majors of his first two majors of the year. And he's good. He looks like he has a lot of fun playing golf.
Yeah.
He's by no means the best player in this competition, but like I have fun watching him. He is being suggested again, another player that's being suggested for a possible wild card in the Ryder Cup. And Darren Clark said there may be someone that I pick out on a whim who's on really good form. This guy has been on really good form this year. He's 19th in greens in regulation on the European Tour, and he's just
It's like an updated version of hipster John Daly.
Yeah,
He's got that sort of
I don't know if I
British,
go out that far.
Yeah,
to
you know,
I
he's
don't
got
know
the
if I
beard and
go
all
full
that.
daily.
Not full daily. No one goes full daily anymore. You don't go full daily anymore. No one can go full daily.
I get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my third pick, I went for some value as well. This guy just seems to be very valued for a guy who came 12th at the Open, tied for 12th at the Open. Gary Woodland, 6,700. You know, you look and he's half the price of a lot of these guys. That is ridiculous. He's been playing very well. He's second to Barracuda. He hit a 70 on his final round at the Open. I mean, he's just one of those guys that we've all talked about him lately, and his name keeps coming up. When you look at him and go, 6,700, I actually think this is a pretty good value. I'm going to look for value in Gary Woodland. You are my value pick. Love you. You're on the list. There you go. You're up, Edo, next with your fourth pick.
I'm quite suspicious of this because I look at the price and go, Charles Schwartzel, 7,300.
Which Charles Schwartzel, the 4th, 5th, 8th, or 9th?
But I mean, I almost think that's a DraftKings joke to see if more than 35% of people own him, because you see Schwartzel at that price, you go, yeah. Got a really good history at the PGA, got a really good Masters history, Majors history, excuse me. He's a former major winner. He's had a good season. He's missed, one cut at the Masters ever since he's been really consistent. 5 top 5 finishes in a row. He hasn't betrayed me so far. He's second in approaches from over 200, which are actually really useful sort of indicator of how people play here. He's got good driving distance, good birdie average, good at approaching the green. I don't understand because he tied for 18th at the Open. He was one of my better performers. So are they maybe expecting fatigue to set in? Because, he plays more than some of the big guns. And he is 35, I believe. But I'm just not seeing it. I do see him doing really well here. And that kind of price, hey, I'll take it. I'll fall into the trap if I have to.
I think with a lot of the prices, because we've got so many big guys, you've got so many guys in the 11, 12, 10 range that, you have to go and look at some of these guys and go, yeah, you're a 6, you're a 7,
Yes.
And girls used to do that to me in high school all the time. You're a 3, you're a 4. And not to my face. But Jamie, who do you got for your fourth pick?
Brooks Koepka, 7,800. I've never picked him before, but he always seems to be there, and I'm always like, maybe I'll pick Brooks Koepka this week.
And
this week is that week, right off the back of a torn ankle ligament, which I only found out about after I'd picked my lineup, and I was like,
nice.
I liked his stats anyway, though. If he comes back to play in this tournament, he was top 25 in the opening 2 majors of the year at the Masters and the Open. Missed the British Open, but his recent form before he was cut at the WGC Bridgestone, which was because he was injured. He was tied 13th, tied second, and tied 35th. His greens in regulation and putting stats are very good. And he's only 7,800. Another one, again, who could be higher if there wasn't so many big guys in here with the huge salaries.
Yeah, I mean, I picked him a couple weeks ago, and he tore his ankle. And that was a great week. Thanks a lot for that, Brooks. That was a really good one.
Brooksy.
Yeah. My fourth pick, a guy, he used to be, start of this year, #1 in greens and regulation, #1 hitting the fairways. I'm talking Webb Simpson. Webb Simpson, 7,500, tied for 39 at the Open, 6 at the Quicken Loans. This guy's averaging 62.1 fantasy points per game, including 2 top 10s. I think he's actually a really good value for 7,500. You've got to try to find some players in that value. Plus, he also sounds like he can swim really well. Webb, because his feet, they're probably webbed. But that has nothing to do with his name. I'm just making that up. Edo, who's your 5th pick?
So you don't like Brooks Koepka because he got injured and ruined your team.
Well, that's one of the reasons.
There's someone...
that I also can't spell the word Koepka.
No, I don't think he can either. There we go, given up. And here's another guy you don't like, Jordan Spieth.
Oh, what?
11.1.
Olivier Giroud.
He's your USA number 12. Number 12, so perfect for him. Oh,
Yeah.
Another coincidence. Oh, no, so even when he's doing badly by his standards, he's still a decent pick. He was top 30 in Scotland when I told people not to pick him, and day 1 and 2 kind of proved that. But then he, came out firing at the weekend and finished on a 68. So is he starting to get this little form back? And all the stats here are actually really good. He came second here last year. Not being supremely accurate, something that cost him eventually at the Masters, is not going to cost him so much here. You've also got to say that if his putter catches fire, he can be such a tidy, organised, merciless play. He's second in birdie average. So, last year he was steamrolling through people. If he does 75% of that, he can probably be a top 15 player, maybe even pushing for the win. And I like him as well because, he will have angered a few people. And I think that type of 30 in Scotland didn't justify what people paid for him last week when he was the 4th most expensive player. So hopefully there's an under-owned factor as well.
Or he could suck a big bag of fescue. Who knows? Jamie, 5th one.
Rory McIlroy, 11,400. I get he's another one of these players he's comfortably in the top 5 players in the world. I'm quite annoyed at him for his comments the other week about the Olympic golf, which I don't think were really...
Seeker! Yeah, same.
Well, no, he didn't even say that was the reason. It was kind of like, I don't owe anything to golf. I'm just here to make money, that kind of thing. And it just doesn't. It's not in particularly good taste. We know he makes a lot of money, but he's going to make me money this week, hopefully, because he's going to win. I think I'm quite confident he'll win this.
Wow.
He'd won. It's the only major he's won twice. He won in 2012, 2014, which means he'll definitely win in 2016. His current form is tied 5th, 3rd, cut, tied 4th, 1st, tied 12th, tied 4th. So a lot of top 5s. Even though people kind of have this illusion that he didn't play particularly well at the Open, he was still in the top 10. He was in the top 10 at the Masters. His stats just scream out that he's going to score a lot of points this week. And 11,400, I don't think he's the most expensive guy on the board. So no.
I mean, when you look at the Open, too, and people talk about who did well at the Open, you have to look. It was that battle between Stenson and Mickelson.
Yeah.
So when you watch Lowry you watch him and you watch Spieth come along, then you start seeing all these sort of good players, but they're overshadowed by this other.
Yeah, and I mean they always rise to like McIlroy is a player that will always be there or thereabouts, which is unlike some of the other ones who are regularly priced above 11,000, who will absolutely bomb on certain weeks. I think McIlroy and Spieth especially, they're the ones who are always there.
Yeah. Well, my 5th pick is a guy who actually bombed out of the Open and spent the time going to the Dublin Zoo watching the monkeys. That's right, from Ireland, Shane Lowry. That's who I'm taking. 7,800. Luck of the Irish. He's magically delicious. I just find this guy funny. He speaks his mind. Does that have anything to do with golf? No, not really. But he's been playing really well. His form has actually been pretty good. 7,800. I think he's probably in the right price range for him. He's one of these golfers I think could actually do very well. He stays consistent. He's had some time off. Shane Lowry, Luck of the Irish, Blarney Stone Kiss. You're on my list. You better do well. 6th pick. Who do you choose for your 6th pick? Is it all the money you got left, or did you strategically keep your 6th pick just to boom wow your friends? Let's find out. Edo, boom wow. What do you got?
No, my last pick was Spieth. I had too much money left because I went for a lot of mid-range guys just because I like the look of them. So this is a guy I picked before his price range, Gary Woodland.
Okay.
6,700. And keep riding the train. This guy, Rory, our colleague Rory, was very enthusiastic about him earlier on this season, as was the DFS community, and he's justified this warm embrace completely. I mean, this course fits his game as well. Here in Springfield, the lower course requires big hitting. He's 7th in driving distance, really good score average, 14th off the tee, good birdie average, great GIR, and of course, he's on form. And he obviously missed Troon. He was a Barracuda instead, so maybe he'll be a tad more rested, although he played in Canada, obviously. But I think that Woodland is just a spectacular player. At that kind of price as well, once again, I'm taking him.
It's good. You got two good picks I like there, because they're the same as mine. Jamie, 6th pick. Who do you got last?
I've got one of Edo's favourites here, Patrick Reed, 8,100. I was really, on the first day especially, I was very, very impressed by Patrick Reed because he was in the lead. He rarely misses the cut, tied 12th, tied 10th in the last 2 tournaments, 9th in the FedEx Cup and the 14th best golfer in the world.
So that was
Eddie statistics there. And exactly, I think the fact he doesn't miss many cuts made me gravitate towards him, not the fact that he's the 14th best golfer in the world.
Good choice of the word gravitate.
Nice. And my 6th pick is someone you've heard of. He is the Stenster, the Steninator, the Henrik Stenson in the. That's pretty much all the things I can do with his name. Henrik Stenson, 10,500, 40 years old, Cinderella story. Come on, wins the British Open. He's playing against Mickelson. I see this rivalry being reignited here. 8 top 10s and a ridiculous 82.2 fantasy points per game. That's, for 10,500. He's playing some divine intervention golf right now. It's amazing, consistent. I like him. I really think he's going to do well this tournament. You better do well, Stenson, or I'll come and find you in Sweden and abduct all the women. All right, so let's go through all of our lineups, go through and see who we've got there. We've got Edos. We've got J.B. Holmes, Phil Mickelson, Thomas Peters, Charles Schwartzel, Jordan Spieth, and Gary Woodland. Jamie has got Stenson, Hurley, Johnson, Koepka, McIlroy, and Patrick Reed. Hopefully Koepka can stay off that ankle. And the winning lineup, mine, Mickelson, Luke Donald, Gary Woodland, Webb Simpson, Shane Lowry, and Henrik Stenson. So how do you get involved? How do you win some of the millions that DraftKings is giving away? Well, just go to DraftKings, and you can play in one of the free tournaments or play in one of the money tournaments. And 6 players, $50,000 budget. You could win big during the PGA Championship. Come on. DraftKings, welcome to the big time.